Hello, welcome to Guns and Yellow. Oh, can't even get my words out. Welcome to Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus. I'm your host. I don't have any fancy Tesco Finest intros like our man Trev, but we will be talking to him and Lyle very shortly. I hope you enjoy the show. We are going to look at the Palace game, and we're going to look ahead to Ipswich just after Boxing Day.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, so we're going to look at the Palace game. We're going to look at a 5-goal thriller for the Arsenal. 5 goals for Jesus, kicking it back, and Saka. We're going to go on Ipswich and festive period. Trevor, how are you? Lyle, can you hear us? You're on mute.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Ferg, you can.
Ferg, I'm going to have to start doing the intros every week because you trying to talk over that music then we couldn't hear a word of what you were saying, which was probably for the best, but all we could hear was...
That's exactly what I said.
Oh, right. Load of bollocks like normal then.
Yeah, usual. I see some of us got the memo, yeah?
Oh dear, it's still 2 days away. Calm down, Fergus, calm down.
Yeah, I know. Listen, we're going to talk Palace and 5 goals in that game and 5 goals for Gabriel Jesus. We're going to talk about Saka and his injury and how we feel that's going to impact us. Going forward, he might be out till possibly March, maybe sooner. And we'll look ahead to the Ipswich game and some of the fixtures that we got between now and that time, like, now and through January, which we'd expect to possibly get maximum or near enough maximum points. Lyle, how are you? How was
Selhurst Park, Fergus.
Selhurst Park. Thank you.
No, it was good. I think I'm still recovering. We had an absolute right of a day on Saturday. It's going to be a good away day when you're starting before lunchtime. So met all the boys up around London Bridge, and everyone was in fantastic spirits. And what a great day we had supporting the best football team in the world, and it was fantastic seeing everyone, whole Arsenal family out there. And brilliant day, Ferg, brilliant day.
Trevor, myself and yourself didn't go to that particular game. Selhurst Park's a bit of a pig to get to, for you especially, because you got 3 hours to get to London, first of all, and then an hour and a half to get the other side to Norwood Park and then the walk and everything else. Good game, really good game to watch on the telly, actually.
Yeah, mate, I'm missing most of Christmas. My next game now isn't until Brighton away. I've got a big family Christmas planned, and we're going away over New Year's. So Brighton away will be my next game, but you can rest assured I'll be catching them all on the telly. Yeah, I thought that it was a really tidy performance at Crystal Palace. Thought we had a bit of a dodgy start. The first 10 or 15 minutes, I got the shock of my life because Saliba couldn't do a thing right, could he? He absolutely struggled. I thought, what's going on here? Even the best in the world have a bit of an off period. But at the end of the day, we cruised home nicely, didn't we? The only upset from the game, of course, as we're going to talk about, is the loss of our star boy, Bukayo.
Before we go on to that, though, the Arsenal players, the fans celebrated a young chap who passed away aged 21 on the 21st minute. Both Crystal Palace and Arsenal fans very respectfully paid respect to them. And we paid respect to this chap here, George Easton. Now, Trevor, we spoke briefly beforehand. I don't recall him. You know a little bit more about George and the impact he had on football generally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it all, Fergus, but what I do know is that he was a big leader of players' rights and players being able to be a bit more in control of their contracts. He wanted to leave Newcastle, I believe, and come to Arsenal. Newcastle was saying you can't go, and in those days, even if you were out of contract, I believe, if a club said you couldn't go, you couldn't go. You couldn't leave. You had to go with the club's blessing. Newcastle were having none of it. George Easton stood his ground, and I believe it dragged on for quite a while. But at the end of the day, he won his case. He was able to move, and he freed up a lot of other players from their contracts and gave them a lot more rights in what they could do.
Mm. And we also went on this show to pay respects to another fallen Gooner, a friend of ours. I don't know Anthony's surname, but I know him from meeting him at football and
Riley
helped me out with some tickets. Sorry, Riley, is it?
Anthony Riley.
Thank you. So yeah, Anthony sadly passed away very young. Was in his 40s, 50s, so really, really young, and he passed away recently. Guys, you knew him a little bit better. Lyle, you knew him quite well. Do you want to say some words?
Yeah, no, I'll go first. Look, absolute gentleman. It was really, really sad. I found out the evening after getting home from Palace. I saw Sarah Millen on the concourse, who said he'd obviously been really unwell, and then she messaged me later on that day to let me know that he'd passed. And it's just really tragic. And integral member of the Arsenal family, home and away for decades, and it's just gutting when you lose one of your own. And it did put a bit of a sort of sad note on the evening when I got home, if I'm brutally honest with you, and some beautiful tributes that have been paid to him over the last couple of days. So we just send our thoughts and prayers with the family and friends, and obviously our dear friends Mark and Sarah and everyone else who knew Anthony closely. So it's a really, really sad time, and unfortunately we just seem to be losing some absolute beautiful people recently in the Arsenal family. So it's pretty gutting, Ferg, pretty gutting.
Trevor?
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple of bad bits of bad news this week. Firstly, Anthony, as Lyle just said, I didn't know him that well, but he was only 41, Anthony. He's fought a long, hard battle against a horrible disease, and he's did his very best, but in the end it beat him. And I know that his friends and family are cut up, as Lyle just said, Mark and Sarah in particular. So family, Mark, Sarah, all stick together and be strong for each other, and be thankful, and rest in peace, Anthony. There's another chap I speak to on social media called Mick, who's an Arsenal fan. I have to be honest, I've never met him, but I spoke to him quite a bit, and his wife has been fighting her fourth bout of cancer. 4 times she's fought it. And she unfortunately, I only found out today, but she unfortunately lost the battle in October. So I was talking to him today, and Mick, if you're listening or you get to hear this, mate, may Jill rest in peace. God bless you, mate, and have the best Christmas you can, mate.
Sombering thoughts, especially at the time and the occasion it is that we're coming up to Christmas, and we're going to talk so positively about Arsenal Football Club and the result that we've had. But there are people who are having difficult times. Reach out to your friends, reach out to people. Don't be alone. Don't be alone. So the lineups, Jesus. Let me bring up the lineups on here. Where we go. Jesus started, which many of us wanted that to happen. We also had Havertz playing in the midfield, and Saka made his 250th appearance for the Gunners, the third youngest player to reach that milestone. So it was Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly made a great appearance again. Partey, Havertz, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus. Lyle, what did you make of that lineup?
Do you know, it's really interesting, Ferg. So I think, in the pub, everyone was sort of talking beforehand about the performance midweek, which obviously there was a game of 2 halves, really. First half, we weren't at it, and then second half, we were at it. And, obviously, we've seen the second coming, the rebirth of of Gabriel Jesus, whatever way you want to call it. And I think everyone was sort of united in their opinion that he needed to play, but obviously we weren't sure if he was going to start or not. And I think it was absolutely the right call to start him. I think the other interesting selection was young Lewis Skelly at left back. But obviously Arteta keeping the faith in the young boy and putting him back in there. So no, I thought it was a really good lineup. And for me, the biggest thing, Fergus, that you've heard me, I've been screaming about it for weeks, is we don't need to play 2 defensive midfielders away from home, at home all the time. And so to see the midfield 3 of Partey, Holding and Odegaard and Havertz in there was a joy.
Trevor, a good lineup, a bit different having Havertz in that role.
Yeah, do you know what, mate? If I'm honest, before the game, I actually made it known that I was a bit worried about Havertz playing deeper. I don't like to see Havertz play deeper, but if Jesus is going to play, he had to, obviously. And but I also put out there that Arteta will probably prove me wrong. He normally does, and as is normally the case, he proved me wrong again, mate. It worked out very nicely. I was really pleased for Jesus more in the second game than the first game, right? More in the second game because we could say, yeah, he scored a hat-trick in the Carabao Cup, yeah, against Premier League opposition, but he's not scored for so long. Was it just a one-off, although he got the free? So for him to come in on Saturday and score another 2 was really important for me. It just sort of shoved my words back down my throat a bit, if I'm honest, put me firmly in my place. And now I'm thinking, yeah, if he's got this smile on his face and he's playing with a bee in his bonnet and his confidence is up high, we've got to let him play, haven't we? Now I'm over the moon for him. He's certainly put me in my place, mate, and I'm not shy of saying it.
I mean, me too as well. I got to put my hand up, and I think in football sometimes you get a pleasant surprise, and especially as a match-going fan, sometimes there's not that much that surprises you. Sometimes you've been to too many games of football, and you lose that little bit of excitement that you had obviously when you went to your first game or you went as a kid. And I think with Gabriel Jesus, I think we'd all sort of written him off, and I think understandably so, given the fact that it'd been 24 games without a goal, which at the top level is a really, really, really bad run of form. But credit to him. 5 goals in a week is fantastic, and he really, that's come at the perfect time for Arsenal, especially with sort of injury news and what we needed. So well done, Jesus.
It is the stats here, like it was 40 games, he had 6 goals, and Trevor, you did call him out, and rightly so. You called him out, not disrespectfully, but you called him out and saying, maybe his time has passed. But look, he scores after 6 minutes.
Sorry, I stand by what I said about he hasn't been good enough.
No, it's right. Trev's bang on. He's bang on.
I'm not shy of saying he's put me right in my place now, but I want him to continue now, and I think he will, especially, it's an awful thing to say, but I think Saka being injured, although we don't want Saka injured, and we're going to talk about it in a bit, I know, he's going to fire up those around him, that are having to fill in for him. I think it will lift us. I honestly do.
Well, he got the first goal on 6 minutes, and then he scores again on 15 minutes. And it's just interesting just so see the guy's face. He just looks like he always had this frown for the last few games. You see him, and he just couldn't. Nothing would really come off for him, and it all sort of came off. And he could have had 3 or 4. I think somebody said in the chat he could have 3 or 4. He definitely had. He could have had that hat trick, which he was unfortunate with. But there were a couple of things that jumped out at me was good and bad by David Raya. 99.9% was very good. I think he kept us in the game, particularly in the second half, early in the second half, when Palace came back out after the break and really did force themselves upon us. Mateta was a handful, Sarr was a handful. But this playing out from the back, we've seen it done with other teams. Tottenham done it really badly against Man United and give them 2 goals. This ball at the passing out loud directly straight to Partey. Go wide, go long, don't go straight out onto your penalty box.
I mean, look, it's disappointing, but at the end of the day, if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the lottery. And I think David Raya, we praise him all the time. He gets it right a lot of the times. There will be the odd occasion where it doesn't come off, and it's, risk and reward. And unfortunate that he made the mistake, but I think the most important thing is that we win as a team and we lose as a team. And that didn't define the game, and we obviously rallied. We've got to be careful with playing out from the back, but these things will happen from time to time, Ferg.
15 minutes in, Sarr found some space in the midfield. I think this is where your fears were with having Havertz in that role, Trevor. I think if Rice was in that role, I don't think Sarr, as much as he was a handful, I don't think Sarr gets that opportunity to get that equaliser 11 minutes in.
No, I thought that we just spoke about the Raya pass out that we lost and put us under a load of pressure. The goal came a couple of minutes later, and I thought we were still settling down and just finding our feet again after that little balls up, But I'll tell you what, boys, I'm going to defend Raya. Not that he needs defending, but
no, he doesn't.
I don't know if you remember, not long after Raya joined, there was a couple of things like that went wrong, and Arteta came on and he said, that is going to happen because that's the way we want our goalkeeper to play.
Spot
right?
on.
That's how all goalkeepers play their game, right? So it's going to happen now and again. And that straight ball to Partey or the midfielder there, when it works really well because it creates the angle. They flick it left or they flick it right, and the wide player's off, gone, away. Creates loads of space when it works. So I'm with Raya for that. And I honestly think that the goal came as a result of that. We were still just settling down, and if Rice was playing, maybe it wouldn't have all happened. But it did, but we handled it fantastically. Ferg, if not now, in a minute, we've got to talk about Skelly, right? We've got to talk about Skelly, right? Because I thought he was off the scale.
Well, yeah. Why don't we do that? Because I'm then going to go and look at like the set pieces and putting the three up on the centre circle and everything else. Let's talk Lewis Skelly because we saw midweek, we saw again the guy just runs and runs. And yes, he's playing in a left back role, but you can see his midfield mind working and the way he's able to supply those balls into the forward line. He breaks the lines really, really well. Trevor, your view on this young lad? He's what, 17? Yeah. He's going to be a huge star.
Mate, I'm loving his confidence levels. I'm loving the way he makes himself time on the ball. He doesn't panic, but most importantly for me, I don't know if Lyle noticed it in the ground, but when Skelly was marking Mateta from set pieces, right? And Mateta was trying to bully Skelly, and Mateta's a huge, great lump of a bloke. I actually wouldn't mind him at Arsenal, actually, Mateta, as a
yes,
he would do a job for us.
Yeah, absolutely. But he tried to bully Skelly, and Skelly had absolutely none of it and gave as good as he got. And he actually marked Mateta out of the game and played Mateta out of the game. I was over the moon for the lad. When Arsenal put up the man, and they normally put 4 names up, don't they, on social media and say, choose your man of the match. I was absolutely gutted that Skelly wasn't on there because he deserves to at least be on that list, lads.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw one of the most interesting things that I've sort of seen, which come from left field, which I didn't expect. And someone said on Twitter that could Lewis Skelly be the next Ashley Cole? Because obviously Ashley Cole started his career further forward. He then got converted into a left back. And, someone was obviously comparing, Ashley Cole, controversial figure at the Arsenal, but take away any prejudice, is one of the best left backs to have played the game. Unreal player. And, that was my era sort of going to games, as a youngster when he come through. And, he's unreal. And it was an interesting comparison because I could see it. You can see it. The way Skelly is on the ball, he could get it on the half turn. He bombs up. He can put the crosses in. He can play a short one. And I'm sure he could get a goal quite easily as well. So it was an interesting comparison I saw on Twitter from someone who threw that one out there. And Trev, he was beautiful. It was beautiful watching him. And the one thing I would say is that I understand that Arteta has a sort of way he likes to play, which is quite defensively solid, but I think we've missed a left footer at left back. And for me, when we've had Skelly at left back and we've had Tierney at left back, it's almost unlocked something different down that left-hand side. I don't know your views on that.
No, listen, mate, I'm exactly the same. When Tierney played during the week, I thought, this is lovely having a proper left footer at left back, and Skelly's just taken out. I think Skelly's not far off making that position his own, I mean, we talked about Calafiori at left back. We talked about Timber at left back if White plays. Hey, you can't ignore this boy Skelly. He's putting in a massive case for having a regular starting place, mate. He really is.
As Danny says, he looks like he's played first-team football for years. Very mature performance. He kept a cool head and gave a top performance, which I think he just looks like he's going to be. You used Ashley Cole as an example. It's not a bad example. I know Dan isn't as keen, but listen, we know why Arsenal fans don't particularly like Ashley Cashley and his mobile phone. But the issue is more about how he went rather than the quality of the player. He was always a quality player. Another thing with the set pieces. So 15 minutes in, there was another set piece. We got a corner and Palace sent 3 players up onto the centre circle. Didn't work for them because Gabriel Jesus got the loose ball and he scored from just outside the box. But they saw that against Sporting. You spotted it. I didn't see it, Trev, against Sporting. And we said more and more teams are going to do that. How do we combat it? Do we just carry on doing what we do best and let them worry about it?
Of course, yeah. Mate, listen, I've just been shouted at from downstairs. my young grandson Vinny is staying at the house tonight downstairs. He's watching downstairs. I said I'd say hello, Vinny. Be a good lad down there, mate, and I'll see you in a bit. So, cheers, Vin. Vinny's just got his new little brother's been born, Ozzy, who's not been very well, but thankfully he's now on the mend. I'm over the moon. Over the moon. Right. What was the question you asked me, Ferg?
What's Vinny getting for Christmas?
I can't tell him. For Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, no, it was more about the three on the centre circle that Sporting done, and Palace done the same thing.
Mate, it might have worked. It might have had a little bit of an effect the first time it happened. When who did it? It was Sporting, was it? Who did it?
Sporting, yeah.
Sporting, yeah. It might have had a little bit of an effect the first time, but that Jova will have took that away by now, and he will have half a dozen plans up his sleeve for teams dropping 3 players back, mate. I'm not worried about it at all. As a matter of fact, I think once we work it out and we get around it, it'll work in our favour because it'll give us that much more space in the box to get our efforts in on goal. So I'm not concerned about it in the slightest, mate. And in the long run, I think it'll work in our benefit.
Lyle, it gave Jesus the room, though, didn't it?
That's exactly it. That's what I think. The one thing Arsenal have become from the set pieces is a little bit one-dimensional, and I say that in the most respectful way ever, because what we're doing from the set pieces is fantastic. But because every team knows that we're going to want to whip a fast, that fast and quick ball, which we whip into the box, which is lethal, I always say, why don't we try to cut back at the top of the box when you've got players like Partey and Odegaard who are fantastic from just outside the box, shooting at range. And then obviously you saw what Gabriel Jesus done for the goal, which was fantastic. And I think it creates an opportunity for us that now, I think if you slip that in every now and then, it keeps the teams guessing and they won't know what we're going to do. And I think it's fantastic. Long may it continue.
Mateta and Assar, as I said, continue to cause us problems. Expose Saliba a little bit in that midfield. Now, Lyle, I put it in our WhatsApp chat. Gabriel and Saliba, the best centre-half pairing in the league currently, have been the best
world
in the world. Yeah, probably, definitely in the league. But is it missing Ben White that's given this little slightly cracks in their performances? Are I don't know.
I don't think we've been too bad, to be honest with you. I think definitely Ben White for me, when he's back, he plays. I mean, he's our right back nailed on. I think look for every maybe minor mistake they make 5 or 6 fantastic tackles or interceptions. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I think what you are seeing though, which is interesting, is players like Saliba. I don't know if it's to compensate the fact that teams are sitting back so much. He seems to be pushing up the park a little bit more. So he's trying to get on the ball, step forward, and obviously, break the lines. Timber was doing the exact same the other game against Palace at the Emirates. So obviously that is always going to play into the hands of the other team who want to hit us on the counter-attack. But I think overall, look, I wouldn't have any concerns.
Trevor, we continue to push for a third. Jesus and Martinelli both came close. But then 25 minutes in, Saka pulls his hamstring. And, he's pulled it before for England. He came back after that and probably rushed back a little bit because we depend quite heavily on him. And we were without Odegaard as well at the same time. And he came off against Liverpool. He came off against Newcastle. You could see he was totally innocuous. He was just running, and you could see on the TV, he just grabbed his hamstring. We'll probably go into a bit more detail about the impact that might have on the team. But Trossard came on, and Martinelli switched across onto that wing. And by him switching onto that wing, there was almost instant impact. The crosses he was putting in was unreal. And Jesus should have had his hat-trick on it, but Havertz, being instinctive, got a tap in from a yard out. What did you make of that whole sort of 10 minutes of...
Ferg, I've just been thrown a curveball here. This comment, I've got to put this up now. Hello, Noreen. I'll repeat our condolences to you, my dear. Stay strong. Stay strong. I know Anthony would have wanted you to be that way. But if there's anything us here at Guns and Yellow Ribbons can do for you, you just drop us a message, Noreen. Anything you need, and we'll be there for you. But stay strong, my dear, and all the very best. I don't know if you want to add, boys.
No, I don't know what to say, if I'm honest. Noreen, I can't imagine how you're feeling to lose a child. It must be absolutely dreadful. Just, yeah. all our love to you.
Yeah, you take care, Noreen. You take care. But the Saka injury, Ferg, right? The Saka injury. I go a bit shallow here, right? I'm blaming Southgate, right? I'm blaming Southgate for playing him for 90 minutes in every one of them bloody pointless international games. He'd have had week off here, a week off there, or playing for half an hour, but he played him in and out, in and out. And in fairness to Arteta, he's had to play him because he's been our star boy. He's head and shoulders, isn't he, Saka? So we're going to laugh about it. I'm making myself laugh, but I'm not changing my tune. No, I'm blaming Southgate, mate.
You know what? I'm all aboard for that because the idiot used to flog him for 180 minutes on the consecutively over international breaks. So yeah, no, look, we're all sort of. It's one of those moments in the ground, right? When you see him sort of go off the way he went off, everyone, it was sort of a hush, around the way end. Obviously, everyone, singing his name and clapping the lad off. But no, it's gutting. And I mean, look, people can try and eulogize and say whatever they want to say around Bukayo Saka and should we have played him less or it's done, right? It's done. We can't change it now, can we? And I think we've just got to look forward and say, well, what can we do going forward to try and mitigate his loss, and that's all we can do. I don't think there's any point blaming Arteta. I definitely will blame Southgate as well, but he's been that go-to player that Arsenal have needed over the last 18 months, who's bailed us out time in, time out, and we wouldn't be where we are without him. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't want to criticise Arteta too much, in terms of the games he's had to play him in and put him on for.
Yeah, Ferg, did you see this comment from Dan here? Right, it's an interesting one, mate, because we've been saying for ages now we could do with another striker. Does this just push it a step further now? Does what we thought was a need, does it now become a must in January, mate?
I think we need, regardless of Saka's injury, I think we needed more firepower and an option. As I've said several times, even if it's a loanee that we bring in with an option later on, and that would get around the PSR FFP sort of side of things that people are talking about. But we don't know how the accounts are. I'm sure we have got loads of money and loads of spending power. I think I don't know if this will change what the Cronkies are planning to do, because January is very, very expensive. Maybe they had planned to bring somebody in anyway. We're all talking about names of Isaac. Newcastle aren't going to sell him in January. Talking about is it Gorkies? As you said, Mateta, absolutely brilliant, but you're not going to get those sort of players who are on form like that in January. I don't know what you're going to get in January at this moment in time. But I suppose Jesus has put a bit of a fly in the ointment. He's had 2 good games. Okay, two swallows don't make a summer. But they might be looking, going, especially if he does well against Ipswich as well. They might be looking and going, you know what, we can ride this out with Jesus. Lyle?
Oh, look, my gut feel is we haven't got the firepower. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I look at Liverpool. I look at what the way that they've managed to bail themselves out of situations this season, and it effectively comes to the firepower. I think we're a much better, well-rounded team than Liverpool, but the difference is they've got those sort of 5 or 6 forward players who, when the chips are down, will find them a goal. And I think we've lacked that this season. We lacked it at Bournemouth away. We lacked it Fulham away. We lacked it Everton at home, and obviously and Newcastle away as well. So those 4 games, you had some firepower in, whether that's off the wide area or through the middle, and we'd be in front of the Scousers. What do they do in the January transfer window? I think it's difficult. You could say, could Nwaneri do a job off the right-hand side? ? Can he step in and play there? I'm not sure. I think the key thing is don't panic buy, because we've got a good squad, right? And regardless of how long Saka is or isn't out for, what you don't want to do is panic buy. You want to bring someone in who, if they are going to come in, is going to be operating at that level. So I think for me, that would be the one thing I'd urge Arsenal and the fans just to urge on the side for, is don't go out and panic buy. Get someone in who can do a job if you are going to go into the window.
Really interesting that. Really interesting that, because do you know what I've done, boys? I've got it written down here. For me now, I'm not looking beyond the next 3 games over Christmas, right? And the New Year. Ipswich at home, which will be a chance for us to run some boys in. Then we've got 2 teams that can really cause upsets, right? On their day, they cause upsets. We've got Brentford and Brighton, both away from home, right?
Well, both dodgy records. Let's be honest with you. Like, I don't care what anyone says, right? You can't take Brentford and Brighton for granted, because
Absolutely.
the last 3 seasons they've thrown absolute spanners our way.
The only thing I'd say on that is Brighton haven't had a win in 5. So
that makes them even more dangerous, then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you haven't won in 5, beware the wounded beast, as they say. If you haven't won in 5, you know they're going to come out flying, because they know they need a win.
Yeah, that is true. It is true. I'm just saying, like, I'd be slightly more confident with Brighton away than I would be Brentford away. Brentford at home are a huge force to be reckoned with. I know we went there last season. I think that we win 3-0. Was that the Havertz goal? No, that was that the season before. But we've had a mixed record there. We went into the second half, and Sarr and Mateta paired up, and they really came out for the first probably 10 minutes of that second half. Palace looked like they were starting to get a foothold in the game and could have actually got back in again if it weren't for Raya, as we said earlier. Raya made some absolutely outstanding saves, and then the substitutions came. Rice and Calafiori came on for Lewis Skelly and Havertz. Rice shored up the whole game, didn't he, Trev?
Oh, Rice made a massive difference. Listen, we must come back to them 3 fixtures when we've talked about this game, folks, because for me they're absolutely season-defining. Key to us.
Just before we go into the second half, I'm just going to throw a shout out to Kai Havertz. He scored a goal, and I think that was really important for him. I know it wasn't necessarily the prettiest goal, but I think good for his confidence to see one go in the back of the net. And we had a very interesting discussion in the stands where there are certain individuals who seem to think that Kai Havertz was a £10 million player, not good enough. But I think that will do his confidence the world of good. And I think fans have been getting on his back a little bit recently for lack of goals. But the one thing I'd say of Kai Havertz is that you can never, ever, ever doubt his work rate. And I think fair play to the boy. Even if he's not scoring, he's always throwing himself about, and that's all we ask for.
His follow up for that third goal was unreal. Yeah. His instinct just to follow the ball up.
Listen, when that shot was taken, right, when it rebounded to Havertz, there were 3 opposition players closer to the ball when the shot was taken. They didn't react anywhere near as quickly as Havertz did, and it gave him the tap-in. He is important, Lyle. I won't have a bad word said about him. And we said that, as Fergus just mentioned, I thought Rice coming on was exactly the right time to change it up a bit and shore it up where we needed to be shored up. And I thought it did make us look a stronger team in the back half of the game. And of course, he scored a wonder goal, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think with Deckers, look, my honest opinion with Declan Rice is his best position is when he's in that box-to-box role, because he can score a goal. I think that when he plays in a defensive midfield role, he doesn't have the same ability as Thomas Partey to just get the ball on the half turn and move it. He's a bit more robotic the way he plays, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that Partey can move the ball quick and he can turn a lot quicker, whereas I think Declan Rice is much better when the play is in front of him and he can move forward on the ball versus his back to goal. And I think what we saw last season, I think it was from sort of January onwards, Declan Rice really started popping up with goals. And I think he got a few before that as well. And I'd really like us to start, trying to utilise that a bit more with Declan Rice.
Before Rice scored his goal, though, Martinelli topped off a great performance. And I think Martinelli deserves a lot of credit for, he hasn't looked great on that left wing. He'd looked out of sorts. He was switched over to the right, and we saw him do it against Liverpool when Saka was taken off. And he really he grew into it, and we worry about Saka being out for the period of time he is. Trevor, you mentioned Namweri possibly on the right, or Lyle did. I think you both have at different points. But would you stick with Martinelli on that right wing going forward?
For me, that would be how I would see it going. Martinelli switching over, and then you bring in Trossard on the left. And if Sterling keeps firing, okay, then I think that eases Saka's injuries impact on the team, right? If Jesus keeps scoring, right? Jesus keeps scoring, that eases the impact of Saka's injury on the team. if Jesus loses his way again a bit, and he's not commanding a place in the team, then we're short. Then I think we're really short. Then we have to start calling on Nwaneri. I watched Nwaneri against Palace when he played from the start, and I thought Nwaneri got thrown in the deep end, going in alongside Sterling and Jesus, two players that have not been firing at all. So I thought that Nwaneri was thrown in the deep end. But I just thought against the Premier League team, he looked like he needs a few more games of coming on and having half an hour for me. And then, as is often the case recently, I've been proved wrong. So nothing would give me greater pleasure than Nwaneri playing from the start this weekend and scoring for fun and proving me wrong.
Just on the Martinelli point, Fergus, I'll be honest with you, right, and I'm willing to die on this hill. I don't actually think the problem has been Martinelli over the last sort of 18 months. I think the problem has been the style of play. So Martinelli scored 17 goals in the 22-23 season when you had Zinchenko at left back, you had Saka in behind, and we're playing that fast counter-attacking football because that's what suits the boy. We then changed the style of football to that slow sort of possession-based build-up, ball to feet. And every time he gets the ball, he's got a winger on him and a fullback, because obviously our fullback isn't bombing on anymore because we've got the inverted fullback, and it completely kills him out of the game. And so I think Martinelli's quality, the problem is how you use him, which is what Arsenal haven't really been able to do over the last 18 months. And the kid's quality, like, I think there's no doubt about that. Anyone who's saying he should be sold has got rocks for brains. I mean, he's a brilliant winger. But I think he's that sort of player who needs to be sort of told what to do and the system has to work for him. He ain't like a Saka who can pick the ball up anywhere on the park, play a pass, beat a player and do that. He's a bit more sort of needs things sort of laid out for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he needs some of the work done for him that like the Tierneys and the Zinchenkos did before, and Xhaka. I don't think he should be sold. I think he could have been a casualty next summer if his game didn't. If his game didn't improve this season, but now he's got the opportunity out in that right. And also how it was in the WhatsApp chat earlier, how teams are going to set up against us and how they're going to play against us going forward without Saka, where they used to put 2 men on Saka or 3 men on Saka. It is going to change how we're going to have to move the ball around the pitch. So I think it might give him a bit more opportunity. Listen, we're record setting at that game. Rice did have the 5th goal. And he turned from assist maker and provider to getting his first goal of the season from a great range. I thought it was outside the box because a friend of mine who's an ex-West Ham fan, he always puts a bet on Rice every now and then to score from outside the box. I said, I think he did, I think he did. We had to go on Sky and check the replay. I think he just got 1 foot inside the box. So the guy was quite chuffed he didn't put the bet on. So, yeah. Scoring 5 goals in 6 different away games in the same calendar year has never been done before by any top flight side ever. It was a great way to round off an away season for 2024. Guys, we're like set piece kings. We're unbeaten in all London derbies in 2024. It hasn't been the prettiest football this season. It hasn't been as free-flowing as we wanted it. But where would you give 2024 out of 10 then, Trev? Combining the 2 seasons together.
No, mate, I'm not scoring them out of 10. I don't think it's fair. And do you know what, mate? It's down to Sky TV. I think these stats, there's so many of them now. They're sort of trivialised, these stats nowadays, You have stats for everything. Listen, the only stat I'm interested in, mate, is if the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup or the Champions League final has got a big W next to it, next to our name, or we're at number 1 in the league. That's the only stat I'm caring about at the minute. I'm giving up with them. So they come out with a stat yesterday, and I laughed. It was that trivial and stupid. But yes, listen, mate, I do think that people were expecting this to be at the top of the league clear. Some people were expecting this, right? But I don't think we've done that bad. The teams that we expected to come at us, City, Man United maybe, they're nowhere. The teams that you can't plan for Liverpool getting a new manager and starting flying. You can't plan for Chelsea having a squad of 250 players and finding 11 that can win a game each week. And I honestly think some people have been saying, "Oh, the league's over. We can't win it." We're not halfway through it yet. You know, so I'm not going down the stats road. But what I am saying is, we will be winning more games in the second half of the season we have in the first half. We come good. And this is why I want to touch on these next 3 games. Ipswich, Brentford, Brighton. Massive point of Ferg to how our players are going to lift after the Saka injury, how we're going to play without Saka. Is Jesus going to keep up his scoring form? Out of them 3 games, I'd like to see him score at least 1, you know. And these next 3 games are going to tell us how we're going to go in the second half of the season. For me, they're key. They're season defining. We've lost our star boy. Now let's see what we've got. Now let's see what we've got, you know, in the closet, and let's bring it all out and win these games. I'm sure we can. If you boys know how far White away is from fitness?
I think he's about another month or so, I thought. But just quickly on that. So Trev doesn't want to talk about stats and ratings, which I think is absolutely bang on. But there is one I would just like to throw out there, and that's we've played 26 games this season. We've lost 2 in the league and we've lost 1 in the Champions League. And we've drawn probably a little bit more games than we would have liked. But I think the Arsenal fans just need to relax, right? And it's one of those where it's when you take a step back and say, hang on, we've only lost 2 in the league and we've lost 1 in the Champions League. And we're in December. Well, January. Well, that is not bad going. And this leads into the point that Trev's making, which I think is king, which is that we need to have a bumper Christmas period because that's what's going to be boom or bust. So it's like, you know, we're just about par, maybe a little bit behind in the league by, you know, maybe one away win. If we won away at Fulham and got the job done at Everton, we would have maybe just been. You said that would have been par, but whatever way you want to sort of argue the toss, it's been a strong enough start to the season. Now is when you've got to turn it on. And every good Arsenal team that has ever won the league in recent years turns it on in and around this point of time. This is when you kick into gear. And I think Trev's absolutely right. The next 3 games are cup finals. We've got to have that sort of war mentality where I think the fans, the players have really got to lift their game now, because I think between now and, you know, we only want to take it game by game. The next month is massive. It's the season, really.
Mate, absolutely, Lowell. I mean, make no bones about it, right? If we go to Brentford away and Brighton away and come away with 6 points, other teams are standing up and taking notice, trust me. Other teams are starting to think, wow, Arsenal are right in this, because they are 2 difficult games on their day.
Do you know what my biggest bugbear is as well, right? So let's have this right, and I'm just going to have this out, right? And anyone who's not happy, come and talk to me at the Woodbine or Block 5, Block 8, whatever, right? Look at Arsenal this season, yeah? The 3 games that we've lost, it was 1-0 at Inter, it was 1-0 at Newcastle, and I can't remember what Bournemouth was, but was it what, 1-0, 2-0? 2-0, right? These are tiny margins, right? Tiny margins, right? So we went to Palace, right? Yes, on Saturday, right? I remember when we went to Palace, 2 years ago on the Monday night, and we lost. We got spanked there, yeah. And it's like we are so close at the moment. And I just think people just need to get with the program a little bit, right? And this is why I think what Trev said is massive. Where it's like, if we can go on a run now, if Jesus can keep this form going, then I've got no doubt that we are going to go and start to pick up some really big performances. It's unquestionable. It's huge. The next couple of games is season defining.
Well, Christmas is always tough as well, because the games are thick and fast for fans as well as for the players. Like and look into January, because we're in all 4 competitions.
This is where you want to be. This is where you want to be as a football fan, right? So if you think about it, you say, right, you're in a semi-final of the League Cup, you're pushing in the league, you're looking very good in Europe, and then you've got a big FA Cup game at home. I mean, that is, you can't really, I mean, okay, you might say the league form could be a little bit. This is where we want Arsenal Football Club to be.
Man City host Everton on Boxing Day, the early kickoff. Liverpool got Leicester at home on the late kickoff on Boxing Day, and then we've got Friday night, the 27th. We've got Ipswich. They're the top 3, and then Forest have got Tottenham. So there's the top 4. So Forest are going to have a nice victory on their hands, you would have thought. Especially after the debacle that we saw yesterday. Honestly, you know what? If we touch on that very, very briefly, Tottenham 3, Liverpool 6. My thoughts on there is Liverpool conceded 3 goals against that rabble. That shows hope for the rest of the league, that they're not okay. Yes, they were away with the game and they probably relaxed and turned off a little bit of concentration, but it means that they are catchable. And Chelsea were held to a 0-0 draw against Everton, and we did say Everton was a tough place to go. So there's a lot of football still to be played. As you said, we've only lost 2 games this season, drawn too many, drawn 6. So we need to maybe up the ante a little, please, and not draw as many games and try and get more results. And through this month will be. How are we going to do that without Saka? If we just look at these fixtures, have we covered everything that you wanted to cover on the 3 games, Trev?
Yeah, and cheers, Lyle. You just confirmed that how important they are. They're going to put us on a pointer now. Without Saka, where are we going to be? Next 3 games will let us know.
Well, the games that we're on here, I can't even read that myself. So we're looking at Ipswich Town, Brentford away, Brighton away, Newcastle,
Carabao Cup, United FA Cup, Tottenham home, Villa home, Dinamo Zagreb home, Wolves away, Girona away, City at home, and then Newcastle away. Bumper.
Yeah, there's some big games in there, especially the Zagreb game is really important for us in our Champions League campaign because we get 3 points in that game. That's us guaranteed top 8 position, more or less, depending on goal difference, of course, because this is quite tight. But we should be in one of those top 8 positions. We got Friday night football against Ipswich. Trevor, before we go into that game, how do you think we're going to cope without Saka?
I think Arnie's hit the nail on the head. Do I think we are only Saka FC? Of course not. Of course not. We're going to cope. Listen, I'm going to put my neck on the line and say we're going to cope fine without Saka. We are going to miss our best player. But we have enough skill in that area, as we showed when he went off, when Martinelli moved over there. Instantly, we saw that we can play without Saka. We want him playing in every game, but I think we're going to be all right. I really do. Key is Jesus keeps scoring goals. Then the pressure's relieved a little bit and we'll be all right. And get well quickly, Saka, because we'd rather have you in the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Ipswich.
Just on the Saka point, if I can really quickly, Ferg, I think it's really important that to be a great team, it's not about one player. It's about a squad. And I think in modern day football, obviously, I know with social media and all this stuff, and Saka is one of our own. We absolutely adore the kid and we love him. But let's just relax here, yeah? It's one of those where it's gutting that he's out, but the show has to go on. And look, one of my favourite Arsenal seasons ever was in 2002, right? When we obviously won the double, Robert Pires is on fire. He does his, done his knee, done his cruise ship, right? And the show didn't stop. We went to Old Trafford and won the league. Look who was up front that night. There was no Bergkamp. There was no Henry. You look who was in goal. You look who's, and I'm sorry, we just need to get a little grip here, right? It's time for the rest of the boys pull their socks up. Yeah. Our main boys out. That's okay. The rest of you've just got to go up another 5%, another 10%. It's like, come on, fans sing louder. Players, do your job. We'll be all right.
Well said, mate. And to sum it up for me, it's not a panic situation, right? It's not a panic situation. We've got skill all over the park, and we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Was that the year? Was it 2002 or whenever it was that Perez went up and lifted the cup?
It was, yeah, and everyone like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just think fans have got to relax, because the thing about this Arsenal team, and this is what I think will hopefully give people hope, is that we are so solid defensively that, if we score an early goal, and I think this is what's pivotal for me in the next 3 games, this Arsenal team scoring the first 15, 20 minutes, it is so pivotal, because then it gets teams to come at us, opens them up a bit, and it gives us the ability to then get the second goal. So I think we'll be all right.
Agree.
Yeah, this is the photo you're on about, Trevor, with Perez. Just loading. There we go. This one here.
Yep.
So he lifts the trophy and everyone bows down to his greatest super puppy. Friday night's huge, as you said. It's huge not only on the players, but a huge responsibility on all fans who are turning up at the ground. Get in early, bring your voices, drink your beer, and get behind the team. Lyle, I know you'll definitely be in a singing mood.
Yeah, well, that's it. I will be in a singing mood. I'm not sure how much we're going to make of the game because we're at a lovely event which our good friend Jason has booked, which is all you can drink beers for a couple of hours beforehand. So we'll be loud and proud. But look, I think with the amount of football we've got coming up over the January and the Christmas period, I think it's a great opportunity, and into February, home and away for there'll be a lot of fans who've probably struggled to get tickets in recent years because of the ballot and all of those sort of things. And I think you're going to see a lot of tickets are going to be available. So I think we're going to need the whole Arsenal fan base, whether you've been at all the games this year or you haven't been to one yet, and you've got your first game coming up to play their part. And I think it's huge for the fan base. And I think we've got to do our job now and really get behind the boys.
Trevor?
Oh yeah, I think the fans are key. It's been on and off, hasn't it? It was interesting when we played Palace last week at our place in the quarter final. The ground was quite quiet. There were quite a few strange fans around me, but they showed just what they can do, our fans, because when we went 1-1 and then went 2-1, that ground was as loud as I've heard it all season. So it can happen. Just got to bring them voices earlier in the game. And I'm a big believer that players get the fans lifted and fans get the players lifted, and sometimes the players need to lift the fans. But we need to get out of that mindset for these next few games. We need to be walking into the Emirates from minute one, screaming and shouting our heads off, and hopefully it'll happen.
I think the Palace game was that. I think in the Palace game at the Emirates, we needed the players to do that. They needed to come out in the second half like they did, and I think that was important for the fan base. And I think what's going to be critical is that the players roll their socks up. And I think for us at the Emirates, we've got to score early. We've got to score early. That's key. Get goals in the first 15, 20 minutes and get the place going.
Yeah, so on top of that, we have got, as you said, Brighton and Brentford away. And then we've got Newcastle in the League Cup semi-final. It's now been confirmed that will be on the Tuesday. I think it's the 6th of January. And the away leg has been confirmed, as I said to you guys in the WhatsApp group, for the 5th of February, the day after the most important day in the world, which is my birthday.
No, it's the 7th, Tuesday the 7th of January.
Tuesday the 7th. 7th of January. Yeah, it was week commencing the 6th. So Tuesday the 7th of January and February the 5th. Newcastle's all booked. The away trip is on. It's close to your birthday as well, Lal. So I think a few libations may be had.
Yeah, redemption, mate. It's redemption. That's the Newcastle away trip is the redemption trip, because obviously we all went up on that Monday night 2 years ago. Took 2 days off work, and obviously we lost the game, and then unfortunately we didn't make it into the top 4. Everyone in the media piled on us, said Arsenal, the project has failed, blah blah blah. Now look at where we are 2 years later. So hopefully the cycle will be complete. Go up there, beat the Geordies, and then drink the town dry.
I want to stop off on that Chinese as well. That Chinese.
Yeah, it's honestly though, I can't explain. Like all the fans who went up there on that Monday night trip, they owe it to themselves to go there, because, like I said, that was a tough night. That's one of the tough, that and that Tottenham away game was one of the tougher nights we've had in post-COVID following Arsenal. So I think all those fans who went to those games, you owe it to yourself, if you can get up there, to get up there, because we're going to put it right.
We will have a big allocation as well. We'll have probably 4,000, you would have thought. Trevor, it's important, though, in that fixture, being a two-headed fixture, that we go into that away fixture with a good grounding on underneath us from the home game. Because ideally, you'd like the home game second. Yeah. But we can't go in there like nil 1-1.
Firstly, Fergus, you embarrassed me a little bit. I'm a little bit embarrassed by you saying that you want to go for a night out in Newcastle and find some way to have something to eat. That ain't how it works, mate. You have an hot dog. You have an hot dog after the game.
That Chinese is immense.
And you get drinking. Newcastle is not for eating. Newcastle is for drinking. So
somebody disappeared. Somebody disappeared. So hence we found the Chinese the last time I was up there.
Yeah, well, I was only because I was drunk, fell into a pub somewhere, and I wasn't eating, was I? I wasn't going to go and eat. Oh no, man! I'm done with you if you carry on. I'm telling you.
No, the League Cup's massive.
Oh, Lyle, it's an opportunity to put that W on a trophy, in it. You know what I mean? To put that one, and we're overdue that. And the home leg's key. I mean, we're going to go. We'll beat them 3-0 at home, I'm sure. then hopefully cruise to a nice boring 0-0 up there. That'll do me. And as Lyle says, we'll have a party. We'll drink the town dry. Arnie says, will you drink brown ale? Arnie, we'll drink anything in a glass.
It can be green ale, any sort of.
It's interesting as well, Trevor. It'd be good to get your perspective on it. I was talking to the old man the other day, and he was obviously explaining the importance of when George Graham won the League Cup in '87. Obviously, Arsenal effed Rush's record up, blah blah blah, and then that was the springboard. And I do think it's interesting that I understand that some fans don't see the value in the League Cup in the modern game, and I understand that argument. But I do think form breeds form, and I think for us, if we do Newcastle over 2 legs in the League Cup, so it's going to be difficult, and then you got the trip to Wembley, I think it's just going to be a huge boost of confidence. And for me, I just want to see us keep winning. So I just don't know. What's your views on that, Trev? Because obviously you saw what it did for Graham, and sort of how that team then went on.
Yeah, I mean, look, mate, winning is a mentality. Winning breeds winning. You get that mentality. It's that extra level of confidence. You can be confident footballers, but if you're winning something, your confidence is an extra level. George Graham, he won the League Cup. It kick-started us because we hadn't won anything since the 1979 Cup final. We hadn't won the league since 71. So coming towards the end of the 80s, it was coming towards the 20 years. And George did it. The most important thing to remember is that George did it his way. He didn't go out and buy superstars. He sold superstars, right? And he built his team. He built his team on players that he liked the look of and that he could trust. And he put a lot of faith in the youth setup. You know, your Rocastle, your Mickey Thomas, Martin Hayes, and others. I'm sorry if I've missed a few. So, yeah, I can see a lot of similarities between Arteta and Graham. And just to finish the similarities of, Arteta needs to win a trophy now. I mean, we need to win the league, actually, because now is the longest we've gone winning the league since the first time we won it, since the 30s. We've never gone this long without winning it. So we need to get some trophies, then get that league one. And I'm still every confidence that Arteta is our man. But Lyle is exactly right. Winning breeds a winning mentality, right? The confidence goes up another level. And you can see the players run on the field thinking, we're going to win today. We're going to win. They've got that mentality in their head. And it works. It's important.
I just think we're in a unique situation this season. And it's something that Arsenal haven't experienced in quite a long time, if I'm brutally honest with you, where it's like we're going on the league. So we're in on that front. You've then got European going off to the side. You've then obviously got the League Cup, Man United at home in the FA Cup. And I think that is where we want to be. And if you get to the end of the season and your team's giving it 100% in every competition, that's all you can ask for. And I think sometimes fans have just got to take a step back. And I'd say, well, what is it that you want? Is it that you'd rather we'd gone out the League Cup early doors, or, we don't put an effort in the FA Cup? Because you don't want that. You want your team to win every single competition you can do. And so I just think we've got to get with the programme, and we've got to get with behind the boys in the League Cup and the FA Cup this season. I think this mentality that the Champions League and the Premier League are the only trophies that matter, it's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. Because look at what Pep Guardiola's done with the domestic cups and how he's used that to sort of supplement and springboard what they've done in the league and obviously in our Champions League. I don't understand it sometimes. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, it's a winning mentality, as you said.
That League Cup is key. Trust me. I'm not belittling that League Cup. I would give my right arm to see us lift that trophy at Wembley this year. I'd give my right arm. It's important. It's not just important for the team. It's important for the fans, the younger fans that are craving this success. Just trust me, when they go up that steps and lift that League Cup at Wembley, that is a wonderful feeling. That is a wonderful feeling.
Dan's comment here is really good, and hopefully we can put that up, which is that we can't continue to be the nearly team. And I think the risk Arsenal run is what Jurgen Klopp tried to do at Liverpool, which was for 4 or 5 years he kept trying to land the dart on the bullseye when he didn't take the FA Cups and the League Cup seriously. And I actually think the best season Jurgen Klopp had was when they made the Champions League final, won the FA Cup, won the League Cup, and just fell short in the Premier League. And I think Arteta is finally, in my opinion, taking the breadth of the competition seriously. And it might be that actually he didn't have the squad, which is fair enough. Obviously it's taken him a while to get up to this position where he probably feels he's got the squad. But I think at the end of the season, for me, as long as Arsenal can showcase that we've got something to show for it, that's all you can ask for, really, innit? And give it 100%. So I think the League Cup is massive. You can't belittle it. It has to be something, like Dan says, we can't continue to be that nearly team.
No. Guys, it's been absolutely wonderful, but we have got a message from somebody very special, and this is not Trevor, just so you know.
Oh. Jingle bells jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to see Tottenham lose at home.
I stopped it just in time, Trevor.
Good. Good. I was on the edge of my seat then thinking, don't let me down.
Yeah, we don't have a dump button on this show, do we?
I do like it when we get Lyle on here. You're not on here often enough, Lyle. It's been fun tonight, mate. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much, mate.
Do you know what? It's good times to be an Arsenal fan. I think sometimes, look, we all get a little bit wrapped up in, do we need this player? Do we need that player? And of course, everyone's got such really valid opinions, fantastic comments, all of those sort of things. But I think we should also enjoy where we are at the moment. Let's enjoy Ipswich. Let's enjoy the League Cup. Let's enjoy the European trips, because 6 years ago, if you'd told me that I'd be sitting here chatting to you boys about this right now, I'd have given everything in my bank account for that. And I think we've just got to sometimes just, enjoy everything at a time. And I just think let's take it game by game, like you said, Trev, and let's enjoy where we end up.
Exactly, mate. I've said it before many times, Lyle. People have short memories, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago even. I was going to away games in the Europa League somewhere in the far side of Eastern Europe, thinking I'm going for the trip because I know the boys won't put in a performance. And I had no hope or expectation. Now I go full of hope and full of expectation. Complete turnaround. Enjoy it.
I'm going to push the button.
Oh, good lad. Do it then.
There you are, Lyle. Nearly getting knocked out by Will. Behind you.
Big shout out to Will. Him and his lovely partner have just had a youngster recently. So I hope all well with you, Bill, and look forward to having a beer with you, Tottenham at home.
When he's allowed out. Guys, listen, this has been wonderful. There's been some really somber moments, some very poignant moments. It's really nice to have Anthony's mum Noreen in the chat as well earlier on. It was really nice getting that message come through. It makes us feel connected to you guys. Yeah. 266 people watching on various platforms. If you do get a chance, go over to YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. It does help us out. But you know what? It's the 23rd. Is it 23rd of December, a couple of days to Christmas. I just want to wish everybody on watching this show, on wherever you are, wish all your families a very merry, healthy and happy Christmas. And we'll speak to you probably Thursday with hangovers.
Yeah, mate, listen, Henty's watching. Henty, thank you for your lovely comments on our podcast today. Truly humbled by that, mate. Henty, thank you very much. And I'll just copy what Ferg said. Have a lovely Christmas, everybody. A happy New Year. And we'll see you the next time. Lyle, say your bit, mate. Finish it off.
Come on, the Arsenal. Let's go. Have a great Christmas, everybody. And we go to war, Ipswich at home. The run starts. Let's see, it's good. Go to battle. Come on, Arsenal.
Lyle, don't worry. I'll tell you what happens during the Ipswich game in the following week, because you're not going to remember, son, are you?
Hey, Trev. Are you down for it, Trev? You're not, are you?
No, I'm not there. No, I'm away, mate. I'm away.
Okay. Well, we've got the table booked from 4. I'm officially working, so I won't be getting down there till just after 5. So, I'm
working.
Listen, just in case. Up the Arsenal, fuck the Spurs.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.